Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Dear Baddies with Cindy and Nicole, with boyfriend, bitches, dating, and everything in between. And today we have a special guest.
What's up, everybody? Cliff here. Just happy to be on the show today and see if we can come up with some good advice, maybe for some people to take their best foot forward.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you so much for being on the show. We greatly appreciate it. So, I mean, we talked before the show. I know that we've got a lot of questions for you. So why don't we just go ahead and dig right in?
Sure.
So, and this is just from a male's perspective. When it comes to dating, how could we be missing out on a good guy? Because I know that there's a lot of fuckboys out there.
Yeah.
You know, how do I guess it's kind of like a marketing tactic, you know, like we want to market ourselves. So what's the best way to go about doing something like that?
Well, I think to have your expectations clearly spelled out, you know, some guys obviously are on the, you know, people abuse the internet. So, you know, this of course, is going to be another application that could be abused. And you really want to, I think women sometimes their radar is off. They want an exciting guy. They want a fun guy. But that type of guy, normally, I mean, you kind of know what you're expecting or you're signing up for. So I would say, like, maybe give someone a chance that maybe a little more introverted than you want, or that doesn't go out as much as you want, or something like that. It's, you know, those are kind of like the diamonds in the rough. Someone that's like has a lot of value, but you know, you're talking about like morals and character, which is kind of hard to come through on a website. You know, you're looking at pictures and where they're traveling to and their career and stuff. So
speaking of where they're traveling to, on dating apps, there's a ton of guys that post travel pictures. So I'm wondering, you know, I know that is appealing for us, but what's the purpose? And I also want to know, what is the purpose of a fish picture? Like,
I was just going to say that. I have no idea, because I actually see women have the fish picture.
Okay, let me stop you guys here. Okay, I post a lot of travel pictures. I travel a lot. I don't take a picture with a fish, but I take pictures, like my current Bumble pictures and Hinge. So I'm on Bumble and Hinge right now, and those are the two ones. But I post that I travel a lot, that I am a pilot, that I skydive, and, you know, I'm adventurous, but I also have a normal picture too.
Good. Yeah. I think that's important. But I need to know the fish picture. Is it, because whenever I see something like that, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a dick measuring contest. So, like, why do men do that?
You know, I think it's like a weird culture or something. I mean, maybe we're to assume that if they catch fish, that they're on a boat regularly, and then maybe we want to be on their boat or something. Yeah. I'm not really sure, but I can't figure it out either. I think it's the weirdest thing.
So these guys, let's say, for instance, making bacon. Okay, so
we talked about making bacon in the last episode. So that was Cindy's, I guess, most recent rendezvous, who was playing the shit out of her. So just to give a little background for anyone that didn't listen to episode,
you guys have to go to episode 1 so you guys can find out. I talk a little bit on episode 2, but yeah, you guys have to listen to Making Bacon, and he will stay for long making bacon. So supposedly he has a boat. I don't think that's true, but he fishes, he hunts, and he has a picture of, not his dick, by the way. It's little.
On that note.
And skinny. But anyways, here we have a bacon. And it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you have a fish picture? Is it because you're trying to say that you're adventurous, or what?
I mean, maybe it's a lifestyle they're trying to promote, maybe. I guess maybe some girls like to fish. I'm not really sure, but I don't really understand it myself, you know.
I always think, like, the bigger the fish, the smaller the dick. So
yeah.
That's like a gym, but it's like the same thing with gym guys. Like, the bigger the muscles, so that means you work out, but you don't have like super. Is it because you're on steroids and all that? I mean, we can dig on this like very easy.
I wouldn't assume.
But then again, the bigger the muscles, I've heard, the smaller the dick.
Well, I think there's some science behind it. I think if a heavy set guy has a lot of adipose tissue, like fat, like they actually secrete more estrogen. And so I think over years, it could actually create someone having a smaller, being endowed with a smaller rate, or smaller penis, I guess.
That's crazy. All right, so let's move on to the next question that I have. So I know that you are kind of like the Michael Jordan of dating apps.
That's right.
So can you rate each app? Like, which one you think is the best? Which one you think is the worst?
You know, I think the the worst one, in my opinion, is Tinder. And I think when dating apps first started, I think everyone's using it and everyone's like Tinder. People only reference dating apps as Tinder, but I think there's more like bots and more fake accounts. I haven't used it that much. You don't match, but I always call it the golden triangle in the sense, Bumble, Hinge, and Facebook. If you use those three, I mean, in my opinion, if you have one hook in the water, why not have three?
So my question is, have you ever tried the League? Because I got into the Millionaire Matchmaker, or there's an app, but that app is trash. I really didn't like that app.
It's called the League.
I like the League.
The League is good. I haven't done the Millionaire Matchmaker, but there's some others, sugardaddy.com and some stuff like that.
I think Seeking Arrangements is the main one for sugar babies.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. With my last rendezvous, with my last rendezvous, I met this guy on Facebook, and Facebook dating, and I don't know. So I would say, Bumble and Hinge are probably pretty even. I think maybe people use Bumble a little bit more, but I've actually become a fan of Facebook dating a bit because, like I was mentioning, I think they were trying to compete. They kind of came in late to the game a little bit, so that some of their filters are at no extra fee, like the premium package. Yeah. With Bumble and Hinge, you would actually pay extra. So like location, I think you can search by height too. You can't do that on the other two apps without paying that monthly. It's like $20 or $30 a month. And with Facebook dating, you can put the interest in. They will match what you have on your Facebook with them, which is, or you already have a profile with them, so might as well just see what actually. And then the mutual friends, which is pretty. Okay, I know it's kind of creepy, people, but I like to do research. Let's call it research.
Honestly, I feel like in this day and age, you really should do your homework. You never know if they are a registered sex offender. Like you just never know. Like the Tinder swindler. I can't say the word. Tinder swindler.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And then which is the other one? We had talked about this a few weeks ago.
The female version of that, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And I think safety should be paramount for anybody, but especially women. I'm a firm believer in, like, if you're going to meet with somebody, why commit yourself to a dinner with someone that you don't know too well? Coffee first. That way, if you're not having a good time or you're getting a weird vibe, you can pull the ejection seat real quickly. You're talking about a 10 or 15 minute commitment of your day. And on the flip side of that, I think men appreciate that you're willing to meet them without them committing to like a dinner. Because I think a lot of them get burned, and I think online dating is hard for men and women. But I think men sometimes, some of these girls, especially if they're attractive, it's almost like their meal card. They're going out to nice dinners 2-3 times a week, ghosting, 1 out of 3 guys are ghosting them and stuff like that. And when guys get a bad taste in their mouth, I think they start reciprocating some of this bad behavior.
Mm-hmm. It's not just women. And I think we as women need to recognize that it's not just us, it's everybody. So we're all in the same boat. Like if we're single and we're out there, we're dating, we're on apps, like we're all in the same boat. So, I was talking to one of my close friends last night. And I remember the episode 2 of this podcast when we had Waleed on. Yeah, which he was fantastic, by the way. And I was telling him about how Waleed said something about, he would be more than ecstatic to have a woman approach him, like at an airport, or, if he's buried in his laptop, or, something like he would love to have someone approach him. It kind of takes the work out for him. But at the same time, if a man were to approach us, because I guess, if you're a semi-attractive girl, there's men approaching us all the time, and we're kind of like, okay, whatever, nonchalant. But like men love that. It's so different to hear like from his perspective and then our perspective, like he had a situation where he walked up to the friend that I talked to last night. He walked up to a girl who was in a group of girls who laughed him away, I guess, Oh. So, and that was like, I guess, triggering for him, and he never did it again. So, he did try yesterday, which I was very proud. He took my advice, which is great.
So now my question
is different.
So now my question would be, how would guys, because we want to make this gender neutral, and I know, so we've been talking a lot about the women, but now for men, how can they actually make a better profile instead of putting a fish pic?
Well, I think, people like good definition pictures. I think people like a lot of pictures. So if, say, a site offers 8 pictures, I think you should put on all 8 pictures. I also believe if you can link your Instagram account, we all like looking at pictures. So why not have another 16 down there, and you know, might just give a little bit more insight on what someone's life is. They're traveling, where they're going, if they're going to church or whatever like that. But you know, there's a lot of things that you can do. I think you should spell out what you're looking for, you know, and that way someone can kind of buy up for that. You know, you're kind of setting expectations. You know, like you just want to be honest with the other person. I think, you know, honest with what you're trying to achieve online, you know.
Yeah. I like how, I think it's Hinge where you can add your Spotify to your profile. I think your music says a lot about you.
Let me see here.
I think that's very telling for me, because I keep on trying to add it and I can't. Like, I'm too old. Yes.
Your profile. Let me see here.
Are you looking at Hinge right now?
Yeah, I'm looking at Hinge.
love it.
I am on Hinge, but I haven't connected because I have my kids. So this is so it's Instagram. Okay, so here we have it's Hinge that we have the Instagram, and let me check Bumble.
Nicole, have you listened to someone's Spotify before and decided to maybe give them a chance?
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
cool.
Absolutely. Because I'm big into music. I grew up with music. Like, we're all vocally and musically inclined. So yeah, music it's a huge part of my life. So I need that to be a huge part of someone else's life. And if they don't have, you know, that talent for it, like my family does, at least appreciate it, you know? So
yeah,
but yeah, no, I'll listen. As long as they are open to like different kinds of music, for me, like that's a plus.
That's kind of telling, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Because I don't want someone that, and this is just me personally, like if someone just listens to like screamo death metal all the time, I can't handle that. So, but I mean, if it's a good eclectic mix of stuff, like bring it the fuck on, you know, like,
yeah, yeah. That also might be telling that they're a little bit more open-minded, someone that are
exactly.
willing to do new experiences and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, going back to Facebook dating, I have like a love-hate relationship, because there was a guy I dated last year, I guess it's been a year this month, and he dated me with 3 other girls, which was shitty, but I learned so much from that experience. I actually met a friend of his at a race that I went to, who, once me and this fuckboy broke up, found me on Facebook dating. And now he and I have been together for 9 months. So if it wasn't for Facebook dating, I never would have met him or the fuckboy. So it's kind of like a love-hate kind of thing for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think there's a huge opportunity online just to experience life. You know, it always doesn't end up, you know, it leaded you to this door. And I think a lot of us have had experiences like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. So yeah, totally agree. Well, so that begs the next question that I have for you. So when I was dating, I didn't give out my phone number until I actually met them in person. So is that a red flag for men not to give out their phone, or not to give out?
So a lot of girls, depending on their generation, I think some people are just comfortable texting. And I think, you know, if you're trying to get to know somebody, you know, you could spend weeks texting and still not really get a really feel of what their character is. And I think talking on the phone it's very helpful. You're going to save a tremendous amount of time. I mean, I think just talking to anyone for a couple minutes, you know, either you vibe enough to have even a friendship, right? And if not, you know, move on. So I think people should get to the phone as soon as possible. But I think also, you know, Bumble and Hinge has the phone option. And I think you can actually still stay anonymous as far as your actual phone number. And I think that's it's a good tool.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So
I think it's a new thing.
So I have a question for you, because I've seen that, let's say, for instance, me as a realtor. Yes, people, I am a realtor in the state of Georgia. FYI, you guys can
never tell you where I work.
But I can tell you where I work, so I really don't care. You got my full name. But anyways, moving forward. So I've seen that a lot of people change their name, and I've been thinking about changing my name instead of using my real name, Cindy, because you can put Cindy Realtor and everything pops up. Or they say, hey, Cindy, oh, wait, I've seen you actually somewhere. And then my social media pops up. And it's just like, I have a little bit of following on social media, but at the same time, it's just like, should I hide who I am, or should I change my name? Because I don't have a problem giving my phone number. I mean, you can just look at Cindy Realtor and everything populates.
It's funny that you bring that up because my girlfriends and I have this. We all have a Sasha Fierce, when we're drinking, right? So, like one girl, her alter ego is Patricia when she's drinking. Mine is Bianca when I'm drinking. So
That's funny.
when Bianca comes out, y'all watch out. But when I was on dating apps, I would put sometimes that my name was Bianca because I didn't I worked for a really secure company and I didn't really want anyone to know my name. But, eventually if it worked out, if we talked a little bit more and we were actually going to meet up, I would obviously tell them my name. But I guess everyone does it different. But from a man's perspective, is that a red flag?
That you have a club name? Bianca?
I guess that would be a
well, no,
name.
it's
I
definitely
was gonna say,
That's she definitely turned up. If someone calls you Bianca, they knew that you were turning up that night when you guys met.
I've been called during the day, Bianca at night.
Girl, yeah.
Well, I think with Sydney, her having it, she, as successful as she's with her business, I think you want to kind of keep some of that separate. And for us, for safety reasons and for your job, keeping some anonymity with work, I think it's good to keep it separated to a certain extent. But I mean, a completely different name, I don't know. I guess it just depend on the person.
Yeah. That's a good point.
That's really interesting because I actually so I went on a date last week. Gosh, hopefully they don't listen to this. But anyways, so this guy, I'm just gonna name him Pete, right? His Bumble, he's Pete. But in reality, his name is not Pete. It is
Brian.
Yes. Brian.
We're going to run out of names. If this podcast keeps going,
so I kept on saying, Pete. And he's like, no, I have to tell you, my name is not Pete. It's Brian. I'm like, oh. And I'm like, he's like, it's something I came up with a few years ago. I'm like, something for work. I'm like, oh, interesting. So it's really interesting. That made me think, and I still am thinking about it because I'm like, so should I actually just not really put my name out there? But then again, how does that put me as authentic or a liar? Or just protecting my identity? Because it's just like, I see it in different perspectives and like, oh, that person is lying about their identity. If they're lying about that, then how is that going to come across?
I guess it could be misconstrued as because, I've seen recently, some guys will post one name on one app and then another name on a different app. And then, if you do like a Google reverse image search, it's potentially a catfish. So, I mean, in my opinion, this is just coming from like my perspective, but I think it's not a red flag for me, maybe because I've done it, but I only did that to keep my anonymity. But
maybe as many guys as Sydney's dating, maybe she could just, depending on the state, she'll have different names for different states so she can keep everyone together.
Look, leave Albuquerque alone. He's now in Japan.
So do guys have, I know I'm kind of switching around, but do guys have a roster when they're dating like girls?
Sure. Yeah. Everyone knows about a stable. You have your starting lineup, and then you have some on the side that you haven't called up to date yet. And I think depending on the guy, I think a lot of guys do. And I think it's kind of like a badge that guys wear, especially younger guys. I think girls do too, but not as. I think guys are really clumsy with it and really open about it. And I do believe that guys probably abuse the dating apps a little bit more. They're just more aggressive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Guys have rosters. So I would say most guys that are single, they probably have. I mean, they're probably dating multiple people or talking to multiple girls.
Is there always a favorite or a least favorite?
I think people like people for different reasons. I think you could like this person because they're funnier, and you could like this person because they're a little more adventurous in bed, or you can like this person. I think it just depends.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cindy.
I feel like I'm so inexperienced with dating because it's just like I don't know any of this. I've never kept a roster. I mean, a roster.
A roster.
I'm not roasting anybody yet. But it's just like,
I'll help you roast.
Am I so naive to the dating world?
I mean, how long have you been in the dating world now, Cindy?
Are we talking about the rendezvous, counting that idiot, bacon, or
we're definitely counting making bacon for sure.
Since February.
You know what? Let me just say this: like, I know that hurt you a lot, you know, like finding out that there was another girl on the side, like that would, I mean, honestly, that would hurt anybody, especially if you become exclusive, especially if you think that you're only sleeping with seeing that one person. So that is fucking hurtful as shit. And I've been there and it sucks. However, every person that you date is going to teach you something. So now, like, I think that this is a great, like, growth and like learning experience for you, because now you know, like, what you know, the red flags to look out for now. You know, if he's going to take it to Snapchat immediately, it's probably going to be a red flag. You know, if he can't call you or you can't call him whenever you want to, probably a red flag. And I think because you've been through that so recently and it's so fresh, you're obviously going to be very guarded with whoever you date, but you're going to know for the next time, like, hey, like,
sure,
this.
That's like, really poignant, Nicole, to say that, because I think if you want to understand life, you have to experience life, and
you do.
You know, we're going to go through some dating mishaps, and we're going to be hurt, and our feelings are going to be hurt. But you're just equipped with just a little bit better next time to maybe see some signs early enough to maybe avoid, you know, wasting more time down the road. So I think it's almost helpful and it's like beneficial to go through some of these bad experiences.
100% agree with that.
I definitely agree with that. So I'm going to tell, is it okay to say how I met you, Cliff?
Sure.
Okay, so last year, I went through a breakup back in 2020, December 2020, and I think I met Cliff, was it last year? Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're coming up on our 13th month anniversary.
Yes, congratulations.
No,
just kidding. But it's funny because when I met Cliff, he wanted to go out with me completely. And he's like, hey, when are we going to meet and all that? And I'm like, no, and I kept on giving excuses and all that. Last year was completely guarded because of that breakup. And now I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's meet. I mean, let's hang out and all that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm doing that with Cliff though, but now I'm actually opening and exploring this whole new world for me, which I'm pretty smart, but with the whole dating thing is like, let me take notes. What am I doing wrong? But it's just like, now I understand someone that takes, like today, I was in a meeting in Atlanta and I asked this guy that I like, and I told him, hey, you know what? Let's do you want to grab lunch? He's like, yeah, you know what? I mean, do you mind going to the cafeteria because I have a meeting at 1:30? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And he took time, even though he was at work and all that. He's like, would you mind? And that for me is important because he made time. He didn't have to. And he's like, hey, just walk to the cafeteria and we'll eat there. Perfect.
Chivalry's not dead.
I have to ask you though, like just playing devil's advocate with this one, did you have to drive to his work to have lunch with him?
No, because oh gosh. Okay. I'm probably ratting me out here. So I am going to so I've been meeting people at his office and they're doing like meetings and all that. And it happens to be, I went to this event like a month ago and I met him and I really, really like him, but it kind of scared me. And I'm like, this is the guy I told you I turned down. Like, yeah, I don't do this. And because he wanted to grab coffee and all, I'm like, no. And I actually do like him. So on Tuesday, we're going to meet up again. But this is going to be.
You're a tough one to crack, Sydney.
I for 13 months.
Yeah. I think it was smart of you to take time to yourself, to work on yourself too. I think a lot of people just instantly jump back in, and I think I'm a person that does that, and it can be a little bit chaotic, right? Because you're emotional, you still have feelings about somebody, or you're still not fully healed, and sometimes it could create more issues for you than not, right?
Oh yeah, those issues are going to creep out. I mean, if you jump from because I used to be like that too, and like last year I finally took time for me to focus on like what I wanted, like. What are my passions? What are my hobbies? Like, what do I like to do instead of what do my friends like to do? Like, what do these guys like to do that I'm dating? You know, like, let me get back to me. But
they like to fish.
Yeah, apparently. We should do a comparison. Cindy, I need you to. I'm just kidding.
No fishing, no big fishing. And I actually this is really important. This is like, I remember last year I told Cliff, like he just went through a breakup. It was like a month ago. I'm like, you need to take time to heal. You need to take time to heal. And believe me, Cliff and I have become really, really good friends during these past 13 months. And last year I kind of got upset with him, and it was not jealousy, but I was like, dude, really, you're going out with this girl? This is December. Remember the December girl? Dude, what
I'm
are
a
you?
December girl. No.
No, it was funny. I was talking to somebody else, and like I said, I just jumped right back on the sites, and she's like, "Listen, you're not over the girl that you just dated." I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I'm looking on your Instagram. You're just in church with her last Sunday."
Oh.
She made me put pictures of her up on Facebook real prematurely, and I was just like, "Oh, who cares?"
This
Whatever.
is like not even a week, and they were saying, "I love you, my gosh, the love of my life," and this is like all love bombing, and
Yeah.
Narcissistic.
I'm like,
I have that effect.
and I was like, Cliff, what the heck? I was like, oh, you're just jealous. And no, it's not about jealousy. It's because you're being stupid.
Yeah. There's something there to learn from people. I think a lot of people go into some of these relationships online, and they're kind of microwaved. It's real intense. It's real fast, and it kind of fizzles out quickly.
Yeah.
Some going back to somebody that trying to find a good guy, maybe something that doesn't start out with this huge spark, but he's got something there, but it's something you can build on. I've been in a lot of those relationships. It's just real hot and heavy for about 3 months. I think it's kind of like a curse, like an online curse for me.
It's just like, so there's this guy I've been talking to for a year now, another guy. I have a lot of guys.
Wow.
And our roster is long.
But yeah, we should let's get in here and start on.
Cindy roster.
Next
episode.
She's got a roster and she doesn't even know
it. Let me write down. But I mean, we've been really, really good friends, and he wanted to meet me in February, and he came from Naples, Florida, and I was like, no, I'm not meeting you. He stayed in a hotel in Buckhead. He's like, I want to meet you. And he was here for 2.5 months. And because I was so guarded, I called him a man whore. He stopped talking to me. And now he's like a wine connoisseur. He loves wine. Anyways, it's just like, he's the wine guy. Let's put it that way. But it was like, we've been talking because we've become really good friends. And he's like, the way that you have changed between last year and this year is amazing. Like, you've healed, and now you're open into different things. You're becoming you. You're looking for you yourself. You're doing your bucket list and all that. But you're going to need a man with balls.
Well, I think, like, coming from a divorce, I know, you and I have been divorced. Cliff, I think you said you've also been divorced. Mm-hmm. I think it's so important because I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, when I was married on paper for 11 years, but we were together for like 9. So I feel like I lost a huge part of my identity. So, and Cindy, to your point, like, yeah, you have to get back to who you are and what you want, and, no apologies,
It seems like so long ago I was married, and I'll give you guys something juicy. And it's kind of a bit, it's not a good look on me, but when I got out of my marriage, I did take advantage of dating sites a bit. And so my picture when my daughter was born, I was in scrubs. So I actually used that as my profile picture on Tinder. So I'm like sitting here in scrubs, and like every single week, these girls, and I would say underneath it, I said, not looking for gold diggers right there. So in effect, I'm attracting gold diggers, right?
Of course.
So, I'd match up with all these girls that are kind of fast in a sense. And, every single one of them, Wednesday, Thursday, we're joking around. They figure out we're going on a date. And then come Thursday or Friday, they would ask me, they'd say, by the way, Cliff, what kind of doctor are you? I said, I used to do medical device sales, and I'm an insurance broker. I'll see you Saturday night.
That's amazing.
It is, but you know what? It's not completely honest, but, I was just going through a phase where I was, trying to probably not think about being hurt and stuff. So, everyone does that kind of stuff for different reasons.
I think there's a Sex and the City episode where Miranda does I think it's speed dating, and she notices like she's not getting any matches or any attention from being a lawyer, but she gets all the attention from being a flight attendant. Like the guy she actually ended up with, he lied and said that he was a doctor. So she never actually had to tell him that she wasn't a flight attendant.
That's funny.
I love Sex and the City, so I apologize for making those many.
No, it's a good show.
No, that's fine. It's Sex and the City. So my friend Nikki, I have my best friend is Nikki too, and she's like, Cindy, you got to watch Sex and the City. And every time like this whole making bacon thing happened, because they're like, my friends and my family are very, very overprotective because I've been through 2 divorces, but I've gotten hurt really, really badly, like taken advantage. My ex-boyfriend, the same thing, but I've healed those wounds. And it's just like, are you like really like this really happened? And then she like posts like, okay, this is like Sex and the City scene. You have to be like that.
Oh yeah, I mean they're all four of them are very strong, independent women, and I think that's why that show is so popular is because we can all there's all like a little Carrie or Samantha or Cynthia and all of us like there's a little part of them, and especially when you're single and you're dating, it's that's one of my favorite shows ever, hands down. But having said that, I'm curious to know, do you guys have like a first date horror story?
Yeah, I got dozens.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What is the worst one?
Okay.
Go ahead. She can go first.
All right. Sorry. My bad. So last year I had I'm like, this is like, oh my gosh, it's been over a year now. He actually ended up moving to Los Angeles now.
Because of the date?
No, physical therapist. And he's like, hey, do you want to go to a plasma donation center for our first date?
Oh my God. Did you go?
I did. Because I was trying to be open. I don't know. I mean, next time he's going to be like, do you want to give your kidney? I mean,
you make a lot of money off.
So he actually donated, like he would do like, I think it's like 3 or 5 times a week plasma donation.
Wow.
Just.
What a nice guy.
Huh?
I think he does that for money, doesn't he?
Yeah, for money.
Did he take the money from the plasma and buy you dinner?
I think he did, maybe.
I mean,
but it's funny because, well, no, it's kind of creepy because that actually gave me like the ick, and not the plasma donation or anything. But so we hanged out. Nothing happened between us because I'm a person that I will not do nothing. And
I mean, once you get the ick, like there's no coming back from that.
But it was his apartment. His apartment was filthy. And this is like,
okay. So was this the first date that you went back to his apartment?
Yeah.
And they didn't hook up.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm serious. We didn't hook up. Like, seriously.
Okay. No.
She'll take it to the grave.
I'm dead serious. No, I would not hook up.
All right, we're going to start having rules for everybody that listens to this podcast. Rule number 1, do not go back on the first date. I mean, unless you've like had a conversation. I mean, even then, do you really know who you're going to have sex with? Probably not.
No, but I didn't have sex with him. That's the thing. I wasn't going to hook up with him.
I mean,
is that a sign to hook up when you go to someone else's apartment?
100%.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, Cindy. You know what? That's okay. That's okay because you have me and Cliff is here. And we're going to help you navigate these dark waters. Be good to go. So, Cliff, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So I know I've heard a lot of girls go either way. So either they want old school, like normal, I guess, courting, or they want like, they want new school. They want take charge. They want, something along those lines. So like, which one? I know that you are with someone currently. So how did you get your current girlfriend to, I guess, go out with you?
Well, I don't think it's a good example, but we had talked online for quite a bit, and I flew into town to meet her for a weekend.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, so because we live in different states, but it's a short ride. But I really lucked out with her because you have to be patient online, and I think it's not going to happen immediately. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon. And I think if you just take your time every given year, I think you do meet a couple really potential good matches come across every 3 to 6 months.
That very first initial conversation, and also, what app did you meet her on?
Bumble.
Bumble, okay.
So, yeah, Bumble.
Obviously everyone knows the girl has to contact the man first for Bumble, right? So I know in my experience, I would send something quirky or a question or something to catch their attention because I feel like, you kind of have to offset yourself and stand out among the however many matches they get. So is there something that she said to you that was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cute?
Like something like, I know you're really tall. Is your body proportionate? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what she said. Yeah.
Do those things matter? Like
they do matter. They do matter. I think when you're saying, to get back to what you're saying about old school versus new school, I think personally guys really appreciate girls that are willing to meet for coffee. because they, you know, some guys can't afford to go out to 3-4 dates before they might meet someone. I mean, you know, $100 here, $200 there, it gets expensive. And some guys literally will just continue to be these, you know, pen pals forever. You know, it's more, sometimes it's financial. You know what, they don't want to take a chance on a girl they really don't know well and she's expecting dinner. And on the flip side of that, I mean, if you're willing to meet for dinner with someone that you don't know too well, and what kind of person are you? I mean, you might be you might booby trap yourself. I mean, do you really need dinner that bad? So I think if you do you know, so I think you should do the dating apps to a phone call on the dating apps. I think you should do one FaceTime before you meet in person at least. And then I think you should meet for coffee. And then after coffee, I think you should do lunch or dinner.
So I have a question. I have a question for you because, gosh, I don't know how much this is going to affect me with the people that I actually end up with or person I end up with. But anyway, so what I do is I always send out a video. I do not do typing. Sometimes I do typing and be like, so, hi. So, okay, so the answer to your question, and they love that because they can actually see my gestures and all that. It's basically the same thing I use for business.
I'm way too timid to send a voice memo or, you know, a video. You know, I'm too timid to do something like that. So I rely on my sparkling personality to get me in the door. But I totally agree with you. I love to, if I'm going to go on a date, if I've never met this person, I want to FaceTime. I want to see your mannerisms and, you know, if we actually like connect.
So on Saturday, I went on a date. And it was in a coffee shop, and he's like, "This is the location and public location." He put it up. I don't know if I told you or not. It was a coffee date, and I'm like, and I told him, "Look, I almost didn't come because I thought this was like a red flag completely."
Oh no, I think coffee dates are great.
Yes, but he never
committed.
We interacted for a little bit. He told me about like his honeybees and all that, and how he actually extracted the honey and. I'm like, cool. And he's like, hey, do you want to grab coffee? I'm like, yeah, we can grab coffee. And he set the location and all that, gave me the time. I told him, and I showed up and I'm like, I almost didn't come because this was like a red flag because we didn't even exchange numbers. We didn't call or anything. And the reason why was because he said that he had a stalker 15 years ago. So he doesn't give his phone number.
I think
that sounds really strange to me.
It does. That sounds like a red flag to me. That's probably why your gut was like, oh, I don't know about this, you know.
He was married.
You know what? I have a story time. Okay. So a couple years ago, right after my ex-husband and I separated, and don't hate me for saying this, but I did date before I was officially divorced.
I did too.
But we did not live together. You know, we had different custody laws, whatever. That was my choice. So, I ended up dating a guy that I didn't know he was married. And the way that I found out was he and I went on a weekend vacation and I got a phone call when I was coming back because we drove separately, which I guess that was a little strange.
Wow.
And it wasn't a far drive. So he's like, oh, I'm going to be there at this time. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll be there a little bit later. No problem. I'll just drive separately. It's not very far. It's like maybe 4 hours. So, not a big deal. I like driving because I can, you know, jam out in my car to like some music and like I'm good. But so on my way home, I get a phone call from this woman and she's like, I need to know everything that happened with I want to give him a name, but I almost slipped up and said his name. We're going to call him Bobby. So I almost slipped up, you know, in saying his name. We're not going to do that. So I get a call. It turns out this woman is his wife. And it was the strangest thing because I'm normally really, really good at picking up these red flags, but he was really, really good at hiding everything. I could call whenever I wanted. I could go over whenever I wanted. Turns out she travels for a living. So I'm in this whole relationship. We're saying I love you. It's fantastic. And then I find out he's 100% married, totally committed. And like ever since then, like, and that was one of my first relationships after we were separated. So it just totally changed like my mindset. And I put up this wall, you know, that was very like, I mean, for someone to break that it would have been very, very difficult. So I don't remember where I was going with that, but
well, yeah, I think you do. Like, so you had this wall because you had an experience that ended up being bad, and maybe that probably affected you maybe giving someone a true chance going forward. I mean, it's, yeah.
100%. Yeah,
For
it took a couple more years to really let that guard down, especially after, the guy I told you guys about last year that dated me and 3 other girls. I mean, honestly, that was such a blessing because I've turned this into a positive, like with this podcast, with, my Facebook group. And obviously that's how Cindy and I met, which thank God for that. She's amazing. So, I think it's so hard to turn things that are so negative into a positive, but I think, if you're strong enough to do it, and that's what with this podcast, that's kind of like what we want to do is like, we don't want anyone to go through the same bullshit that we did. So we're hoping that this helps.
And at the same time, it's just like this podcast is to help you guys. I don't want no negative connotation on this just because it's just like, look, you know what? Bacon, or making bacon, whatever it is. I mean, it's just like he actually, because of this, I'm not heartbroken. I'm actually happy that this happened. And I can actually like Nicole and I became friends and we're doing this podcast and it's actually helping you guys to actually be careful, cautious, but at the same time, don't look at a breakup as a negative thing. Look at it as a positive thing because there's always something much better along down the road, and you might not see it now. There's this video I had posted a few months ago. Sometimes when the universe is giving you something that you want to hold onto this little teddy bear, and the universe is trying to give you like something made bigger, but you still want to hold on to that little teddy bear, but the universe has this humongous teddy bear that is ready to be given to you, but because you're holding on to that. And sometimes we need to let go in order to grow.
Yep.
That's good.
Totally agree with that. And it's so hard to give advice or actually receive advice while you're in the thick of it, so it's so easy to give advice when you're not living it. And it's so hard to accept that advice if you are living it. So I have another question for you, Cliff. So with the girls that I talk to and give advice to, I have like a 90-day rule, right? For becoming
90-day fiance.
No, I don't recommend that.
But I want to get married now. Where's my wedding ring? That's the first time. When you go on the first date, that's the first thing. So when do you want to get married? When do you want to get married?
I can't even. I love that show. I mean, honestly, we could start a whole podcast on that show because I fucking love that show. But obviously 90 days is too soon to get married. But so like my 90-day theory is the first 30 days, you go on casual dates. I mean, you might still be dating somebody else, but you really just take 30 days to get to know someone. But then by the end of that first 30 days, you have that conversation about, maybe we should move this up to let's be exclusive and not see anyone else. And then that exclusivity lasts for the other 30 to 60 days. And then once you get to the 60-day mark and then potentially the 90-day mark, you're, I guess, official. So would you say that that's probably a good plan of action?
Well, when does sex come involved in this? Is this within the first 30 days, correct?
I guess it depends on the person. For me, I would need to test drive the car before I bought the car. So, Cindy, I think might have a different answer for that. But I'm pretty open when it comes to like sexuality. Like I'll talk about anything whenever. So
I'm just joking around. I think every situation is different. I think sometimes you just feel more intense with people. I do think it can be toxic if it's too much too quick. Mm-hmm. I think that can be a form of toxicity. I think what you're saying is right. You should take your time to get to know somebody. You don't have to go all in right away. And I think that's a really healthy, like maybe, basis of a relationship. Yeah. 60 to 90 days. 90 days, most of my relationships are over. Unfortunately. So I don't know about the 90 days. Normally I'm going exclusive, within the first month or first month and a half or something. But, well before then, you guys are already talking and spending a lot of time together. You already know they're really not dating many, they don't have much time to date, right? If you meet someone that's working and talking to you, they're pretty booked.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little healthy. What you're suggesting, I think is extremely healthy.
So Cindy, how long did you and Macon Bacon, I guess, date before you actually had that conversation about being exclusive? I'm going to go ahead and say 3 months, I hope.
No, this was like
Couple hours.
It was June, May or June.
So March you started dating, May
Talking because I mean,
talking.
and then, but I mean, this is the thing. He would talk to me 24/7, like all the time.
I think she posted something on Facebook saying, I'm not available for anyone unless someone's buying a house. Don't message me. Don't look at my name on Facebook. Don't
Somebody was pissed that day.
she was committed.
Yeah.
No, because I get a lot of messages of people asking me out, and I'm like, oh, stop asking me out. And now I'm like, people have been asking me about like, hey, are you single? What's going on? And I'm like, leave me alone. But I'm single. I'm open. Now I'm open to dating locally. So if you're an hour away, then I'm open to that. That's fine, because I do like, expanding my radius, especially with real estate. I mean, it's not that I'm not interested in the person. I'm interested in the person, but it takes me different places. So I like to learn about those different places too.
Well, so I have a question. So you both are pretty attractive people. So, obviously you get DMs saying like, are you single? Do you want to go out? Like, how do you, from a male and female perspective, how do you handle something like that?
You pick a couple of them to go out with every once in a while.
Cindy, your face is cracking me up.
I've never no, like I had a lender trying to hook me up. He's like, hey, my brother-in-law is coming into town this weekend, or my cousin. I want to hook you up with him. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. And I was like, I felt like so disrespected. And I was like, no, that's just like, no, I'm not, no, nope.
Do you think that maybe, Cindy, you've had some issues in the past? Because I'm just curious to know, because I don't know your dating history all that well, but do you typically pick the same kind of guy and you go out with them, and it's like a pattern for you, like getting hurt by these same kinds of guys?
So I used to date a lot of, like, my first ex-husband is military. My second ex-husband is military. My ex-boyfriend is military. So Bacon Macon is military too. He's guard.
So we're going to stop doing that.
Yes, I definitely decided to stop doing that. And the men that I've been talking to lately, they're not military. You should be proud of me, Cliff.
I am proud of you. You deserve to date someone that's more comparable to your lifestyle. You work hard. You have a good career. You help the community out. You should do someone that's similar.
I would
not
agree.
just date someone.
Yes, and it's just like the lifestyle. And no offense to military guys or anything, but I'm not settling this time. And I'm a very successful person in what I do. And it's just like, I need someone to be at my level or higher. Because if you're not at my level or higher, I'm not going to date you. And I mean, so Bacon Macon, he was no way compared to, not even at my toes. And I'm not trying to shit on him, but I realize
we'll shit all over him. We will shit all over him because that fuckboy deserves to be shit on. I'm not even lying.
But in this case, I was like, what the heck was I thinking? Because it was like, I felt like it was a safety blanket. And for me, it was like, okay, so what am I going to do? And for me, it's important now. It's just like, okay, so this guy that I'm talking, like all the guys that I'm talking to right now, they're either at my level or much higher. And that's so important for me. So now I'm actually changing the guys that I'm looking at, and I'm changing in state because I was looking at out of state. Now I want to have a committed relationship in the state of Georgia.
Which county are you focusing on taking over?
Like now I'm actually changing my perspective now since I have my walls down. Now I'm actually open to dating in the state of Georgia. I'm not looking out. I'm not even like, this weekend I'm going to Melbourne, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even put in travel mode. Like, there's two people that I'm really, really interested in. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to wind it down to who I really want to date in the end. But then now my question is when do you have that talk?
Nicole's probably better to answer this than I am.
Oh gosh. When do you have that talk about what?
That you just want to see that person one-on-one?
Yeah.
I would give it a good, so I dated a guy
days.
last year. I think it's hard because it's dependent on the individual person, and it's dependent on how often you see each other, how often you communicate. I mean, because I'm one where I don't have to talk to my boyfriend every day. You know, like I do, but because I want to, but I don't need to. You know, I know what he's doing. I know where he is. I know he's not out there, you know, running amok. I would say if it's like a date once a week, I don't think that's enough time personally. But I feel like after about 30 days and you've talked and you know the names of his siblings or whatnot, I think it might be a good, and you've slept together. I think that's probably a good time to have.
Yeah, I think you should focus on sleeping with somebody first and then have the talk.
I personally don't want this is just me being in my 30s and dating now, but I don't want to have sex without monogamy.
Oh, I don't want to neither.
What's monogamy?
Just seeing one person at a time.
Just kidding.
I know you know what that means.
Well, you never know. You know,
you never know. I know there's a dating coach. She was on Bravo, Patty Stanger. She was the Millionaire Matchmaker.
I remember her. Yeah.
And I have messaged her, so I'm trying to get her on our podcast because she's fucking amazing. But she had a couple of rules. One of them was no sex before monogamy. And I mean, honestly, that could be after the third date. It could be after the, I don't know, seventh date, whatever. But she also said, you know, when you go out, 2 drink maximum, especially on the first date.
That's a good rule. I have ruined a lot of dates and a lot of relationships because I've just overdrank.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. There's actually science behind it. As you get older, like alcohol is on your brain, it just treats you, it's different. Mm-hmm. So it's just easier for you to overdrink. You're just not, plus you're probably not used to drinking like you did in your 20s when you're going out and then you're going out and it's just your brain's reacting to it differently. It's just easy, like one every 6 times or so you can do something that you regret.
Oh yeah. Like that. I remember like when I hit 30, 35 now, but when I hit 30, it's like that hangover lasted 2 days. So like even now I think I might drink twice a month, but you know, when I was dating and like going out with like different people just casually, like I always stuck to that 2 drink maximum because I never wanted to, especially meeting them for the first time. Like we talked about earlier, it can be so unsafe to have more than what you can handle, you know, because you never know like what could happen.
I try to control, like I don't drink, like really I'm like a very, very lightweight like this. And it's just like I don't like drinking, but at the same time it's just like I have like side effects when I drink. And yeah, no. I try not to drink.
Like we're gonna like getting some beads on Bourbon Street.
Oh, yeah. That might be. Is that an option?
Bianca's coming out.
Girl, yes.
But yeah, I mean, and that's true. I mean, it's just like I remember last year I went on a date. I guess I'd call it a meet, and I went on a meet and greet with this lawyer, and he was like, he drank. He's like, "You don't drink?" I'm like, "No, I don't drink." And then drank, and he drank because he was a little bit nervous.
I mean, you know what? I get nervous too. Like, I'm going to be honest, like we're, starting this podcast, I'm a little nervous because this is a totally new experience for me. I've talked about it for a long time, starting something like this. But so, I mean, for me, I don't drink often, but like for tonight, for example, like Mama's got a glass of wine, so we're going to do that. But like, I feel like it just kind of relaxes, but I'm also Irish. And so I can drink like a fish. I don't. But I can, you know what I mean? So my ex-husband was an alcoholic. And so I've got a really, I guess, bad connotation with that. And when we talked to Waleed on episode 2, he said something like, why don't, when you first start dating, tell them that you don't drink much and see if they start planning dates that are outside of going to a bar, which I thought was a fucking great idea.
So oh my gosh, Brian, the guy that I went on
Brian,
Brian, yeah.
It's like Justin Bobby from the Hills,
Yeah, so we had talked. So he does a lot of extreme sports. I'm a person that I do a lot of extreme sports too. I jump up planes, fly planes, zip lining. I travel. I do anything that.
I hope that insurance policy is pretty high.
He's an insurance agent, by the way. So,
no, I'm not.
So in this case, I was talking to. He's like, "Hey, let's go rock climbing." I'm like, "I'm down for it. Let's do it." And he's like, he wants to do like different things outside, and I haven't
I think that's
really
great.
like, hey, you know what? I'm not able to. He wanted me to meet his parents this weekend.
How many dates have you been on with this guy?
Nope. That's to me, for me, that is a massive red flag. Like that is you want to meet the parents? You're like, are you going to love bomb me? Are you going to ask me to marry you in 20 days? Like, what the fuck, you know?
No, but it was more like, because he wanted to like an out because of distraction of his family, because he didn't want to go by himself. And he's like,
I still think that personally, that is a red flag for me.
What do you think, Cliff?
Well, I've met parents. That's one of my rules. I'll meet parents on the first date. I think 3 times in my life I've gone on dates and we just go meet their parents. It's kind of like a joke for me, but not a joke, but just like, hey, I have nothing to hide. I love meeting people. You know, of course, I take it as a compliment. You want to introduce me to your parents? Let's go meet them. Now, is that a telltale sign that girls are a little crazy or something? I don't know. I mean, this most recent relationship, I stayed the weekend with her parents, I think on 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Went great. Things are going great. I think it's also a huge compliment. I mean, if he wants to introduce you to his parents, I mean, he's kind of tell you like, hey, I'm interested in potentially dating you. I want my parents to see what they think of you.
But we had a storyline. He was gay, and I was a stripper.
What?
That's the whole thing. Because his family's like very, very religious, and that's what we were talking about. And I'm like, I'm down for it. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, he also might be proud that he's dating you and he met you too. Yeah, you could take it as a compliment.
Yeah. I think that's cute, but I don't know. I mean, for me, I think maybe because of what I've dealt with in the past, that would be a red flag for me. But I don't, it just feels like narcissistic behavior, but I can also see why it could be a compliment, like, hey, I really like this girl. Let me show her off to you.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, and he's been wanting to meet up. I mean, I've had a freaking like busy week. Like, I mean, I know but then again, I do have kids and all that too. I cannot be like, hey, let's just hang out. Yeah, let's hang out. And it's just like sometimes a little bit just hard.
So Cliff, when you are newly dating a girl, like what are some red flags that men look out for in women?
There's too long of a list, but I would say, so I think, I always tell people, if you just listen to somebody, they'll tell you who they are or how they're going to treat you. Mm-hmm. So for instance, what I don't like, and I think it's unfortunate, I think words are really important. So women will be like, I've just been burned too many times. I just don't want that. I don't want to be hurt again. So it's basically like, well, no one else wants to buy this car. Why do I want to buy it? So it's like, I think you just don't have to tell everybody, your sob story. I mean, we've all been hurt. I think there's a lot of red flags in people talking about their exes too much. Also, like too many relationships. Everybody always leaves them, stuff like that. I'm like, well, I'm trying to buy a car here. Why do I want to go away in this car when no one else wants it? But in a sense, I'm kind of being funny, but I think those are red flags. I think if a girl wants you to take them out to expensive dinner multiple times in a row up front, I think those are red flags. If you can't get a hold of somebody, I think these are red flags. I don't like if you call somebody. If I call you and leave a voicemail and you just respond to me via text, if you do that a couple times, I'm like, I just think it's proper etiquette. Like if I call you, I think you're supposed to return my call, I guess, or say you're busy at least and you'll talk to me later.
Yeah, and I know I don't know how old you are, Cliff, but I feel like you're probably around me and Cindy's age. So we're, I guess, elder millennials. And I know that elder millennials are typically known for texting and not really.
They are, yeah. Another big red flag, a huge one, is if a girl's thinks she's an Instagram model. If she's posting too many pictures online and she says she's a model or actress or something like that, and she lives in the middle of the state in Georgia somewhere,
Yeah, that would be a pretty big red flag. I think those are all the same kind of red flags that we have too, minus the Instagram. I mean, well, no, actually, I can take that back. I have seen a few male Instagram models, which, I mean, it's all fine and dandy. He's super nice to look at, but even in friendships, and I said this on episode 1, even in friendships, I gotta have substance. I can't have a fake friendship or a fake relationship, So that's important to me. So the pretty boy aesthetic, as pretty as they are, what do you have underneath? How are you going to be my partner, you know? What are you laughing at? Now I need to know.
I was like, let me see what I have underneath. Well, I'm a birth student. But in this case, like, I mean, I don't like, I have three Instagrams with now Dear Baddies. I barely post stuff on Instagram. Cliff, you both are on my private Instagram. I try to keep things, at least in that Instagram, I try to keep things private just because of my kids and for protection. So that's one of the reasons I don't link it to Bumble or Hinge, because I mean, you can see like some of my traveling. I post most like of my traveling on my public page just because I want people to know what I am, who I am, and what do I do. But when it comes to dating and red flags, I mean, I know there's a lot, but then, I mean, yes, that definitely is. I mean, what if the person doesn't post that much? It's like Making Bacon has 2 different accounts on Facebook. You know, like if you have an account and you're going to do something wrong, like people, please keep that account freaking private and don't put your full freaking name. Don't be that person. Anyways, but it's just like, I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that you can talk about and say, hey, you know what, this is a red flag too. But how do I just, I mean, it's the same thing with men and women, you know.
It is. And I'm going to go back to it over and over and over. Men and women we have the same issues. It's not just women. And like, like we talked about earlier, I run that group on Facebook with 5,000 girls. And I feel like maybe sometimes we do forget that men are still like, they're in the same position as we are.
They are. I think guys are ruder. I think they're more aggressive online, and I think that's a shame because, if a guy's not willing to say that to you in person, but now he's emboldened or empowered online to say it, I think that's kind of, it's kind of lame, honestly. Yeah. So I think girls do have to be a little bit more cautious. Guys deal with the same issues, but I just feel like guys abuse online apps probably a little bit more than women do, I would think.
Yeah, I would say that that's pretty accurate. Well, I mean, let me back up. Yes, I agree with you. I think that's probably pretty accurate, but I think a lot of women abuse it as well to make money. There's a lot.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
let's not even start the OnlyFans page.
Listen, if I had not, I don't know. I can't say that I wouldn't do an OnlyFans. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I wouldn't do it now, but
I took a girl out to dinner last year, and she's like, Cliff, you take me out to dinner tonight, you'll be with the best looking woman in all of town. So she brought a girl with her, and I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Well, I ended up going out to a very expensive dinner at Del Frisco's, and it turned out that they were actually lesbians, and I was paying for their dinner. Oh. And I just it felt pretty bad, but honestly, I should have known better. But girls, I mean, especially in the cities, girls use online apps for date. It's their meal card, just like in college. They had a meal card then. Now it's just a little bit different. And every once in a while, they probably have to have sex with somebody along the run, and probably ghost some folks too.
I heard something really sad recently. So I used to be on a bowling team until COVID happened, and we had to stop, bowling. So it was super fun. It was just a way. It was something through my job that we, just a networking kind of thing that we did. But I was talking to the guys, and this is when I was newly dating. So there's one of the girls and I were talking to the other guys, and I asked, how often on a first date or second date, third date, does the girl ever offer to pay? And they're like, pay? Never. And
I always offered to pay.
Right. I always offer to pay my share. I never expect anyone.
I always hear girls saying this, but it never actually happens to me. But
really,
I'm just kidding.
That sucks.
Now I have a question for you guys, and back on what you guys were saying. I think if a girl offers to pay every 3 or 4 times, I think that's, for me personally, I think that I like that. I don't expect a girl to go 1 for 1, but how do you ask a girl? So like I'd be like, well, if you pick up a dinner and I pick up a dinner, now in theory we can go out to twice as many dinners. Right.
So my opinion is, I feel like and maybe this is just me being Southern, but I feel like whoever asks the person out for the initial date should be the one to pay. So for the first date, if a guy asks me out to dinner, I feel like he should pay, but I'll still offer to pay for my half. But I feel like we should alternate, so like second time we go out, I'll pay. Third time we go out, he pays, something like that. But because those rules are so blurry, there's no set clear boundary, you know what I mean? So I think it's tricky, but I think that also comes back to communication. Like, how often are you communicating?
Right.
Is this something like, is this part of something that you would want to talk about? But I never, but also, you know, women, we're doing a lot better than we used to 50 years ago. So, you know, I know I'm the breadwinner in my household. Cindy's the breadwinner in her household. So I would have no problem taking a guy out on a date, especially in 2022.
Well, so how would a guy pose it to you, say if we're dating, and so I don't have to pick up every dinner? What would I say to you that's acceptable?
I would say,
just,
you know, grab next one, or hey, you know, because for me, like, okay, and this is like a situation that I had with my ex-boyfriend, because I'm like headstrong and he wants to be headstrong, and I think that's one of the reasons the relationship failed too. It's like, no, you know what, I can pay for my stuff. You don't have to pay for, you know, because I was going there 2 or 3 times a month to see him. I mean, we're talking about flight tickets, and then I'm like, okay, fine, we'll do half and half. But this took me like probably like 6 months into the relationship, like, okay. And then whenever we would go out, I'd be like, okay, so then I would pay, he would pay. And at times it would be like, he was like, Cindy, you just traveled here to see me, so let me cover everything.
I think that I would agree with, you know, if I was going to pay for a hotel and a plane ticket to go see someone and potentially a rental car, I mean, that's hundreds of dollars. So not that I would expect someone to pay for me, but I think it would be really nice. You know, if I spent that much money to come see you specifically, I would hope that you'd want to take me at least to dinner. But I wouldn't, I mean, I think it's difficult because in this day and age, like, women are doing better. You know, we don't need a man to take care of us. I think at this point we're dating because we want to.
So well, let's be honest. If you went to go visit some guy and he didn't take you to dinner, you would be upset a little bit. I mean, there's kind of expectations being the guy versus girl that you're kind of expecting a guy to take you to dinner if you come visit.
I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
I drove, so I was in Rockmart. Okay, and this is gonna be awful what I'm gonna say. So I was in Rockmart, I was skydiving that day, and I went to Macon, and I got a Taco Bell meal.
Because Taco Bell is life. Thank you. No.
Well, that's nice of you that you're willing to go. Honestly, I think he's kind of a dweeb for doing it, but you know that I think that shows earnest on your part that you're truly trying to get to know him. And if he was on a limited time constraint, you took his word for it and you went to Taco Bell. I mean, I think that's okay.
Taco Bell's great. Who cares? I mean, I think I think Cliff, you're right. You know, it's the thought that counts, honestly.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's just like men. Okay, so some men get intimidated because they think women need something extravagant, and all we want is companionship. We want to be loved. So now my question is to you: what are men looking for?
I think women. I think with current times, I think a guy's looking for a girl that's ambitious. I think the grounded that shows some stability. That's probably family oriented. That's probably has a good sense of humor. I think a sense of humor goes a long way for a guy. You know, not taking things too you know, being a little lighthearted, not being too serious about everything. And I think you know, a guy doesn't like a lot of pressure in the beginning. You know, I think a sense of humor is really important. I think ambition in today's times, guys want to level up. I mean, they want someone that's comparable. I mean, I don't think money is a necessary issue, and I think it goes both ways. Guys and girls were the same thing. They just want someone that's passionate about life, that wants to better themselves, you know, to move forward. And I mean, ultimately, you want to find someone to build something with, right? Build a life. I mean, you know, I mean, if you're doing really well when someone's not very serious and not taken very serious, but I think those are important things to look for. Of course, yeah.
Do you think most guys on dating apps are looking for just a hookup, or do you think that they're actually looking for something real?
I think more guys are looking for hookups than they are relationships on there, and I think you got to vet people out. And I think one way is you'll see someone like, I'm not going to have sex with you unless we're dating, or you know, you got to tell people what you're expecting from them, and if they expect that, if they accept that, then you've kind of set the playing field for you two to get to know each other. Not on here for hookups. I mean, that's going to scare some guys away. Yeah, honestly.
But the same thing is, like, I was talking to other guys, and they're saying that women are doing, like, they're just here to flirt and to just have sex. That's it.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, listen.
Yeah, women do it too.
Girls like sex too. Yeah. So, but I think it is important to set the stage on how you expect to be treated from somebody, and I think that there's a verbal commitment there. I mean, if someone says, you tell them, explain to them what you're looking for, and if they say, okay, well, that's kind of how, that's the rules kind of sense.
Mm-hmm. I know I asked you this before we started the show, but if you change your location before you go to a different city for a weekend, is that an automatic, I'm only looking to hook up?
Well, honestly, I mean, I've told people, I'm not always honest. I mean, there's one time I was kind of ripping and roaring. I would tell people that I'm thinking about moving to the area and I'm looking for places to move to. So that would kind of make them think like, hey, this guy's going to live here. He's just not like going to come and, see me this weekend and I'm not going to see him again. But, I think there's a lot of girls that sign up for that they're okay with it. I mean, a lot of girls that live in the city, they want a good time. They know you're there. You're going to be going out to dinner, going out to, going out for drinks and having a good time. I think some girls, depending on what stage they are in their life, I mean, they like that.
Whenever I got onto the dating apps, I'm still on dating apps and all that now, but I would change my location because I would be open for a long distance relationship.
Long distance relationships can work well, in my opinion. I mean, you work really hard and every couple of weeks you guys get 2 or 3 days together. I mean, if you work really hard where you live, I mean, you don't, especially if you're a parent, you don't have that much time anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I know. I feel like looking back, knowing what I know now on my dating app, I would put, busy single mom. And I feel like that probably turned off a lot of people. If I did re-enter the dating world, I think I'd probably leave that out. But do you think that would scare a lot of men away?
Well, it does. They're intimidated by the children in the sense that, one, now they're going to be Insta daddy, right?
Right.
That's what they're thinking in their mind. But two, it's also a time constraint. So, I mean, if you're a full-time mom and you don't have 50-50, I mean, that means that you don't have much time for me.
Exactly.
I personally don't mind. I have a child. I love dating single parents because I think we're on the same wavelength. But for a single guy, they take it as a hindrance, unfortunately. But honestly, why give that guy a chance anyway? Because he's not really in it for the right reason. So I actually think leaving it on there, you're not going to get as much attention. But the attention that you do get, I think people are more intentional with you. I mean, they're more sincere.
Yeah.
So now my question would be like, okay, so I've had a lot of people asking me about my profile and they ask me like, how do you have time for dating?
Yeah, I know you're jumping from planes, going overseas, going on shows and everything. That's actually a good question. I mean, if you're all over the place and traveling, how would you have time for somebody?
Yeah, and I've told them, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and I always make time for what I want. There's no problem, and it's just like a lot of men make excuses. A lot of people, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. How do you think you can actually change this?
Well, I think you guys have to. I think people will make time for anything that's important to them. So, if you guys hit it off and there is a genuine connection there, you guys will find a way to see each other. I mean, that's just the way it works. I mean, so I think it's also just a cop-out, especially if you guys have dated, you guys have a tussle and you guys have sex or something like that, and all of a sudden someone says, oh, I don't have that much time. I mean, it's just another reason for them to say I wasn't really into dating long-term to begin with.
I've always heard that if someone makes a comment about themselves negatively, and they're very standoffish in a sense, even a month, 2 months, 6 months down the road, they could always bring it back and just say, remember, I told you I didn't know what I wanted. I always hated that when I was dating.
All right, Cliff.
Oh, and we lost him, but that's okay because I think we're going to wrap up this episode for today.
All right, so then this has been a really good episode about, like I said, in our little recess session or cut-off session, I would say this is, if you guys have any questions, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, like our page on Facebook, follow us on TikTok, and let us know what you guys want to hear more about. We'll have more content creators. All right, so people, Cliff has become a ghost, and we're wrapping this up. This is Nicole and Cindy with Dear Baddies, boyfriend, bitches, dating, and everything in between. And follow us for more. Hope you guys enjoy. Have a beautiful night, people.
Bye, everyone.